sure. A lot of people did.
Yeah.
There was an investigation going on by the county of Riverside at the time about there were either 2 or 3 murders.
I'm sorry, what's that?
There were either 2 or 3 murders.
There was 3. There was Mr. Fred Alvarez, a woman from Long Island, and another person. I think it was a male.
Yeah. Anyway, that investigation was going on, and there was a lot of speculation about it being a contract murder and so forth. I don't believe that our case, if there was a common thread, it would have been John Philip Nichols. But our case was a little more simpler than that.
I see.
We had a detective that worked for us who had a confidential informant,
right,
who was acquainted with the girlfriend of Dr. Nichols.
Okay, that would have been Jimmy Hughes.
No.
Oh, it wasn't. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, and the confidential informant was a female.
Okay.
Yeah, I know who Jimmy Hughes is, too.
Okay, we can talk about him in a minute. So this gentleman was this confidential informant was a female,
right,
that worked with one of your employees.
Yeah.
Somebody under you, eh?
Primarily on narcotics cases that were ongoing.
Is this narcotics cases in Indio?
Yes.
Do you have drugs there? Really? Seems like
drugs everywhere in California.
Well, I know, but it seems like kind of a quiet place. I mean, it's not like Los Angeles, eh?
Well, actually, there's as much going on and was at that time. Pretty heavy area, so.
Was it marijuana?
Everything.
Oh, even heroin?
Not so much heroin at that time, but
cocaine.
Cocaine.
Okay, so some of the hard stuff, eh?
Yeah, and it goes on all the time.
Yeah, I know. It goes on here in Canada too. We got a big problem in British Columbia, as you know.
I've heard that.
Oh my God, it's terrible, Sam. It's getting worse. It's Chinese heroin and marijuana, and oh my God, they can't even control it. There's so much of it.
That reminds me of I don't have a lot of faith in the federal government sometimes, but you remember back in the 70s, the federal government was going to clean up the flow of heroin and opium derivatives coming into the United States.
Yeah.
And Turkey was a big supplier.
Yes, it was.
At that time. So they came up with a great idea, and I don't know whose idea it was, but the State Department applied the Turkish government with a great deal of money and to hand out to the Turkish farmers to get them to grow other crops, which were recommended by the United States.
Department of Agriculture, probably.
Yeah, instead of
good plan.
instead of the poppies.
Sure.
So, the Turkish farmers thought that was a great idea. They took the American money.
Yep.
And they spread their crops out a little bit further that they recommended, and they grew the poppies in between them. So
they're not stupid then, eh?
Best of both worlds.
Well, just trying to make a living, I guess, eh?
Oh, yeah.
The poor Turks.
At any rate...
but you did have a drug problem in your area back in the 70s, eh?
Sure.
In the 80s, I guess, too, then.
Yeah, I retired in 85, so...
So now you're just living the good life.
Yeah.
Good for you. Wish I was retired, Sam. Well, my dad is. I guess I'll get my turn, eh?
When you finish your book, you can retire.
I don't think so. No, I'm not. To be honest with you, I'm not doing it for money. I'm just doing it because it's a interesting story, and I'd like to see it get. It started out, actually it's so complex. It's become hard to manage.
Yeah.
Because it involves so many people and so many threads, and you get into Ames law and you get into all that cabazon crap.
Well, there's
so many people involved, and a lot of them have died. A lot of people.
A
lot of people have passed on, eh? So it's not easy to do, eh? It's like chasing.
Yeah, and a lot of things are hearsay, and a lot of them are not connected. And
Yeah.
but eventually, and here's where I kind of blame Reconnaisuto a little bit for this, because he was around and he was involved with everybody that he could get to listen to him.
Sure.
And I had to go back and testify before a federal grand jury a few years ago.
Oh, recently?
No, this is several years ago.
Where, in Chicago?
In Chicago, yeah.
Oh, you were a part of that thing, were you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And because of one of Reconnaisuto's wild stories.
Which story was that? There's so many of them.
It involves this murder for hire thing.
Okay.
That you're asking about.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, any resemblance to what actually happened and what Reconnaisuto's story was purely coincidental. And so that's one of the reasons why
you ended up going
back there, yeah.
Can I interject just for a second, Sam? I don't mean to be rude.
No,
let me just say this to you, that I don't know Reconnaisuto. I mean, I've got a couple of letters from him, and I talked to him on the phone once. He is in prison.
Yeah.
And Peter Sikorsky and quite a few other people have said that he's a very strategic professional manipulator.
He's what?
A professional manipulator. Now, I don't know if that's true, because I can only take things at face value.
Yeah.
But you're not the first person to say to me that Michael spins wild stories.
Well, and I would say that the professional manipulator moniker is probably a pretty good one.
Right.
for Reconnaisuto.
Poor old Michael.
Yeah, he's a bright guy.
Yeah, they say he is actually a genius, eh?
I would say he's close to it.
200 IQ, they say.
But his, if he had channeled his efforts in the right direction, he'd probably be a billionaire.
Oh my God, yeah.
But he didn't.
Yeah, into things that were, if you even if he took a government job 9 to 5, he would have made $60,000-$80,000 a year and had a pension and a comfortable life.
Absolutely.
But I mean, we're all different, eh?
That's right. We're all driven by different things.
But well, then let's go back to Ted. Now, Ted, this is the story Ted told me, and this is what I've written. Now I'm going to have to change it because it sounds like it's not quite accurate. So he didn't go to you? Ted didn't go to you? Because he said he did.
I've talked to Ted on several occasions.
Ted seems pretty good.
Yeah, I think there. What Ted talked to me about was the triple murder, and
that's the Alvarez situation, eh?
Yeah,
right.
And it was his take that
which?
It was his. I'm sorry.
His belief.
Slang. His belief.
Right.
That it was a hit, and that probably put together by Dr. Nichols and some of his cohorts.
Sure.
And it may very well have been true, but it wasn't my investigation. It wasn't my department's. So I was kind of on the fringes of that. But this thing with Dr. Nichols, where we sent him to prison, was not based upon what anyone told us. This came right out of the blue from one of my detective's informants.
Right.
And then she was asked by the informant.
The detective was a female?
No, the detective was a male.
Oh, and the informant was a female.
The informant was a female.
I gotcha. I'm sorry.
At any rate, that female informant was well acquainted with a girlfriend of Dr. Nichols, who was a young lady that he had taken under his wing and was living with him. And he was very upset because she was still being contacted by friends who would sell her dope and things of that nature or give it to her. And at any rate, she he was approached supposedly by Dr. Nichols, to get rid of the people who were selling dope to this young lady. She in turn the informant had a boyfriend who was from Mexico and didn't speak much English.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, she talked to our detective. And the detective said, well, string him along and tell him that you won't do it, but you'll get somebody that can.
Oh, I see.
And so she did. And he paid, he said he would pay $1,000 for each person.
1,000 or 500 per person?
1,000.
1,000 per person, eh?
Right.
I think that's a matter of court record, isn't it?
It should be, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a little fuzzy on this. It may have been 500 for the first, and he said, okay, do the rest, and I'll pay you $1,000 a piece.
That was to kill 2 people?
5.
Oh, 5, wow.
Yeah.
Ambitious.
It was a total of 5, yeah.
Wow. Who were these 5 people, Sam?
I don't recall their names, but they were young people that the young lady that was living with him was involved with.
So they were just associates involved with drugs?
Associates, yeah.
Druggy types?
Druggies, yeah.
Okay.
So, the fire department, one of the guys in the fire department agreed to, they have these kits where they do disaster scenarios, and they make people up to show horrible damage to their bodies and whatnot.
Yeah.
Wounds.
Yeah.
So we
like
got
Hollywood stuff.
Yeah. So we got a hold of the
Indio Fire Department?
Indio Fire Department.
Mm-hmm.
And
interesting stories.
And the victim that he wanted
killed,
mm-hmm. We made her up and took her out in the desert behind the police department, photographed her with a what do you call it?
All the makeup on.
Yeah, and the camera was a Polaroid.
Sure.
And then the boy from Mexico that didn't speak English very well, and the girl met him at Motel 6 in Indio.
Met who? Not Dr. Nichols?
Dr. Nichols.
Okay, gotcha.
They showed him the picture.
Mm-hmm.
We had them wired. They showed him the picture of the victim. He bought it, paid him the money, and said, you do the other 4, and there's $1,000 a piece.
Okay, and now I got you.
So
It's all of the stories, Sam.
It just fell in place.
It's pretty good police work, though.
Yeah.
You had good cooperation from the fire department, eh?
Absolutely. And so we were prepared to go ahead and maybe set up one more,
mm-hmm.
but we took it to the district attorney, and they said, heck no, we got enough. Let's go now.
Where'd you go, to the DA in Riverside?
In the Indio office.
Okay, and that was it, eh?
Yeah. And they went to the grand jury. He was indicted, and
the rest is history.
Yep.
I guess the one thing that bothered everybody is that he only got 14 months.
Well, I believe that he was sentenced to longer than that, but and I think he prevailed upon the parole board to let him out because of his illness.
Oh, he was sick, was he?
Yeah, I know he was a diabetic, and
oh, he was.
He ultimately lost one of his legs.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and and here again, Dr. Nichols was kind of like Reconasuto. They are very bright people,
right?
But they became a little misguided,
a little pathological, as they say.
Yeah. In fact, I even talked to Dr. Nichols on the telephone after he was released from prison, and I wrote a letter for him.
Oh, is that right, eh?
Yeah. And I said, I will not sugarcoat what you did, but I will. And he tried to get a job as a may have done that for a while, but anyway, I wrote to the person that where he had applied in Arizona and told him exactly what he did and told him that he was a bright man and that he could probably do the job.
Right.
Had the education and the background for it. But,
how come you stuck up for him, Sam?
well,
Felt sorry for him?
I suppose, you know, at his age and everything. And
how old would he have been at that time?
Gosh, probably in his, I would say maybe his
born in
late 60s.
Yeah, he was born in 1924, I believe.
Yeah.
So he was no kid.
Yeah, I never like to kick anybody when they're down.
No, I understand that. No, I'm just trying to figure out what your motivation was for helping him. So it was basically just good-hearted, trying to help the guy. And,
yeah.
And then, and that's it. So you figure he ended up in Arizona for a while, eh?
He may have, and I have not talked to him since that time.
I think he died. Where did he died in hospital? In hospital, I believe.
Yeah.
From a heart attack, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was right here in the valley somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was in India or someplace.
Yeah.
And whatever happened to his sons? There was Mark and John Phillip. I think my understanding was John Phillip moved back east, and the other son stayed on with the gambling facility?
Yeah, Mark is the CEO of the, well, I'm not sure what the title is, but he's still with the Capizon band.
He's still there, eh?
Yeah.
He was never, because there was some suggestion that his sons, there was a book written.
Washington, D.C. that I went to Chicago. But I think...
That's for the grand jury, eh?
Yeah, I think Ted did what any law enforcement officer would do when he heard about these things. He made a contact with me and he told me what he's going on with the Alvarez things, and I probably did tell him that I wouldn't allow anything like that to happen in my jurisdiction.
Well, that's what you did tell him. He said that you weren't going to put up with that.
No, and when this thing came to us out of the blue, I thought about Ted, you know, and I said, boy, you know, whether it's coincidental, I'm sure, but
sure.
The person who is responsible, who they felt was responsible for it, certainly, I'm sure was connected. Well, we proved that he
That's
was
with
connected
Mr.
to our
Nichols.
case. Yeah.
With Mr. Nichols.
Yeah.
So basically, by the sounds of it,
he was very intent upon rehabilitating this young lady. She was only 19 or 20 years of age, and a nice-looking girl.
Right.
And I think, you know, I don't know whether I don't know for a fact that there was a girlfriend-boyfriend relation.
Sure.
But he definitely had the mind of a social worker, and he wanted to stop that.
Right.
And he felt the only way he could do it was to get rid of her associates.
Pretty extreme.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
But it shows how the guy thinks. Or thought.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't counsel anybody to go to those extremes. Better to just distance yourself from the girl, obviously.
But it was...
However.
Yeah, we don't feel, or didn't feel at the time, that there was any connection with the Alvarez killings. This was separate.
Separate entities, eh?
Yeah, and we tried... we didn't leave a stone unturned on that angle.
Sure.
But there was simply no connection.
Now, you were the police chief at whereabouts? In Indio?
Indio, yeah.
Is Indio a big city?
Well, it's the largest city in Coachella Valley. It's
10,000 people?
Well, no, it's well over 50,000.
Oh, it's that big?
Yeah. And at the time,
81 or 83 or
yeah, something like that. It was probably around 40,000.
So it hasn't grown that much. Another 10,000, eh?
Yeah, 10, 15,000. I think it's around 55,000 now.
I gather it's adjacent to the reservation.
Yes.
It's on the periphery, eh?
It borders the reservation. See, years ago,
an incoming call. I'll just ignore it. That's why you're hearing that noise.
Oh, okay.
Somebody's trying to get through. Don't worry about it.
And so you can see where the land is, the Indian land is, all over the valley if you just follow the Southern Pacific rail lines. Well, the cabins on reservation actually was in the city of Indio. In fact, they were annexed into the city at one time. And then when Dr. Nichols and his group came in and they wanted to have gambling, I said no.
Oh, you said no, eh?
Yeah, I said you can't because...
Did you have that authority as the police chief?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it had...
Even though it was Indian land, you had that authority?
Yeah, because of Public Law 280. Public Law 280 gave the authority for enforcement of all state and local laws to law enforcement and over the Indian reservations. Prior to that, they had Indian police officers.
Interesting. So you had that kind of power, eh?
Well, I simply said I would enforce state law. And
Sure.
State law prohibited it.
How come you were reticent about gambling? You thought it would lead to more troubles?
Yes, and it does.
Yeah, well, it does all over the world, gambling.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They're actually considered to be huge sources for money laundering even today.
Oh, yeah. There's no question about that.
That's what they say, anyway. I'm not a policeman, so I don't know, but
Well,
that's pretty common knowledge, I guess.
it's the easiest place to launder it.
Yeah, I guess it would be, eh?
Yeah,
So-
that and funeral homes.
Funeral homes, for God's sakes. I haven't heard that one before. I know you're pulling my leg, Sam. At least you got a sense of humor. So, anyway, that was your main concern, that it would just
Yes.
involve more headaches than it was worth, eh?
Well, and I took an oath to enforce the state laws, and
Sure.
it would have violated state law.
Fair enough. So you're going by the books, eh?
Right.
And, of course, it went through anyway.
Yeah,
In the
they went through the federal court, and Judge Laughlin Waters, we called him Judge Laughing Waters, because he's very friendly to the Indian causes.
Right.
And
Maybe you got free cigarettes, who knows?
yeah. But at any rate, he found, or the attorneys for the Indians found a little glitch, and when the Indians asked for annexation so they could have water and power and so forth years ago, there was no record in the Bureau of Indian Affairs office file that showed that the Bureau of Indian Affairs had given written permission or had blessed the annexation. So based upon that, Judge Waters said, well, I'm going to delete from the record the annexation. So he de-annexed that reservation from the city of Indio, and then, of course, they could do what they wanted.
I see. So it was basically a technicality, I guess, eh?
It was a technicality.
Is a good, fair way to summarize it?
Yes, and so...
And then they just proceeded with their plans.
Right, and then the county went in, and county law enforcement said no, it's still violating state law.
Oh, really?
But eventually, they were allowed to do that because of the federal court's rule that they were a sovereign nation, and therefore they could set their own rules.
I see.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say, as has been characterized, that Mr. Nichols had a little bit of clout around that place? He had a little bit of weight, they said. Or do you know?
I think more accurately would be that he had a group of lawyers in Washington, D.C. that were very well known and had basically some heavy support from the government as far as the Indians and their sovereignty.
Right, so he had political and legal connections then.
Yeah.
Suggested by many he was actually CIA maybe not an agent, that would be stretching it,
Yeah.
but sort of an operative for them for many, many years. And actually, he had said publicly himself that he was.
And he may have been. Who knows?
So we don't really know, eh?
The CIA uses all kinds of people in all walks of life.
Yeah.
And so he could have, but I never really found anyone
No evidence to support that thesis.
that would support that now.
So, yeah, so that was just the common rumor, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
And apparently he worked for Coca-Cola in South America and Bolivia for years.
Yeah, he spoke Spanish very well.
Oh, he did, eh?
And his wife was even better.
Really?
But she was Italian. And
She was Italian.
yeah.
What was her name,
so-
Phyllis?
I believe so. I'm not.
And she passed on eventually, eh?
Yes, she did.
And the son, Mark, is he keeping out of trouble?
Well, as far as I can tell, he is.
Because I thought I heard he was involved with some stuff recently.
It was just political contributions, you know.
Political contributions.
Yeah, to campaigns and whatnot.
What, local campaigns? State campaigns?
State.
Giving them money, eh?
Yeah.
Illegally, I gather.
Well, it's a very fine line.
I don't know your system. I'm being a Canadian citizen. I'm not sure how it
Yeah,
works.
it's so comminuted that
You could get into trouble then.
you could get into trouble very easily if you.
So it blew over, I gather.
Yeah.
So it was an issue, and then it became a non-issue.
Right.
Okay. So that's that. With respect to basic...
Casolaro.
I didn't know Danny because he died in 1991.
Right.
I certainly have become an expert on him. As a matter of fact, just 3 days ago...
Well, I was quite frankly, I was a little bit reluctant to talk to you because when I was back in Washington, Danny made contact with me, and we had talked on the phone and
Sure.
had made an appointment. My wife and I were going to have dinner with him on a Saturday night, and he turned up dead in a motel in Virginia.
That's right, yeah.
So I'm saying, God, I hope this doesn't happen to anybody else I talk to.
No. Well, I guess, Sam, I like to think...
Very much involved in looking into that, and that
Into which?
into the Iran-Contra and
Yeah.
Inslaw.
That's right. Inslaw was his principal focus.
Yeah, Inslaw was his principal focus, but the whole thing with his death didn't sit well with people, and
No.
still a lot of unanswered questions.
No. I personally, this is just my opinion, I think he was murdered.
Well, I do too.
I'm going to tell you why I think that, Sam. And anybody who ever went near Reconnaissuto ended up dead, too.
Yeah,
His lawyers ended up dead.
it's a funny thing.
Casolaro ended up dead.
Yeah.
Alvarez ended up dead. Paul Marascus ended up dead. Mary Quick ended up dead. Neil Abernathy from Hercules, California, and his 12-year-old son, Brendan, ended up dead. Dr. Ian Spiros ended up dead. All of these people knew Reconnaissuto.
Yeah.
I mean, my God.
Well, the prosecuting attorney on Dr. Nichols and myself were contacted by the FBI and told that there was a contract out on us.
You're kidding. You too?
So, yep.
Really?
Yeah, I'm surprised Ted didn't tell you about that.
He didn't mention that, but he did say that there was a contract out on him. 2 contracts, he said.
Yeah.
He got them dismissed.
Yeah,
I think Robert Booth Nichols helped him on that one,
could be.
but I don't know. Robert Booth Nichols was well connected.
Yeah. They had a friend of mine who was an agent, had him contact me personally by phone in Washington, D.C. and tell me about it.
Really?
And I'd known him for a long time, and he's quite a jokester, and I said, come on,
Yeah, you didn't believe it?
Harry, you're pulling my leg. And he said, no, I'm serious.
Really?
And
He said said he was serious.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you react to that when he said he was serious?
Well, I still keep a good eye out.
Oh, I think you'll be all right now. It's just a lot of water under the bridge now, eh?
Well, and that guy's still in prison too. So.
Which guy?
The person that had the contract on us.
Oh, so you knew who he was?
Yeah.
Can you say his name?
Well, his moniker was Jason.
His moniker?
Yeah.
What's moniker mean? His AKA?
His AKA. Yeah.
Was Jason.
Yeah.
So you knew this guy? Or, well, you didn't know him, but they determined who he was.
Law enforcement knew him. Yeah.
So, and who was he working for?
They don't know.
Must have been Nichols.
Could have been.
I mean, who else would be?
Yeah.
If there were some suggestion that you were being annoying,
Yeah.
and the prosecutor was, who was the prosecutor? At that time?
Yeah, I think it was Irwood.
Who?
Rick Irwood.
E-A-R-W-O-O-D?
E-R-W-O-O-D.
And he was from where?
Yeah, he was from India.
He was from India. He's probably retired now, eh?
No, he's a judge now.
Oh, he's a judge?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him. So he's still working, eh?
Yep.
Still in India?
Still in India.
Wow. So Mr. Irwood and yourself both had got a little bit of a scare, eh?
Yeah, well, you always hear these things, but a couple or three times in your career, but he was picked up, a young highway patrolman stopped him for bad tail light, found a quantity of C4 explosives and some illegal weapons in his trunk, and they sent him to prison.
The prosecutor was?
No, the hit guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He was picked up by a state patrolman after the warning was issued.
Right.
Oh, they were watching him then.
Yeah, but it was a fluke.
Oh, just that got him on a tail light.
The highway patrolman was fresh out of the academy, had no idea who he was stopping.
Really?
Yeah.
So he was stopping a contract killer.
Yeah, the guy had been to a narcotics party and was a little high. Wasn't watching his P's and Q's, I guess.
And he had a tail light out.
Yeah.
So he pulled him over on a routine highway traffic infraction.
Right.
And found C4 in the bloody trunk?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Plus rifles in the car.
Well, they were illegal handguns with the serial numbers filed off.
Right. How does a guy get his hands on C4, for God's sakes? That's government stuff.
Yeah, it's usually stolen from the military.
Oh, I see.
And
then sold on the black market.
Sold on the black market, yeah.
So these guys have their ways, I guess, or their connections.
Oh, yeah.
So, and where did they arrest him, in India?
No, I think it was in San Gabriel.
Where's that, in California?
In Los Angeles County.
And they figured he was on his way.
He could have been.
He never confessed to it, eh?
Yeah. No.
He was, and you had a friend that tipped you off, eh?
Yeah, an agent from the Bureau.
FBI?
Yeah.
Well, they did good work for you then.
Yeah, he was, I met him when I went through the FBI Academy, and
Oh, you took training there, did you?
yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In Quantico?
In Quantico, yeah.
That's not normal procedure for police officers, is it, to go to Quantico? Or was it just a course you went on?
No, it's, we went through the academy right along with they have parallel classes for the new agents and for higher ranking police officers.
Oh, I see. So it's a courtesy, professional courtesy?
Right. They run the academy. In fact, had a good friend in that class by the name of Glenn Lytle, who later became the commandant of the Provincial Police Academy in Ontario.
You're kidding me.
He was with RCMP at the time.
Huh. Well, that's in Aylmer. Or the RCMP Academy or Ontario Academy?
Ontario Academy.
Oh, that's in Aylmer.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's not far from where I live. It's about an hour from here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was with the RCMP when we went through the academy together.
Huh.
Through the FBI Academy.
I didn't know the RCMP went down there.
Yeah, they take people from all over the world. We had Canada and 8 other.
That's my understanding.
Yeah,
Well, let me say infamous. Infamous.
Yeah.
Oh, he did go to prison.
Yeah, Wayne Reeder did, yeah.
Oh, so that would have been after 1991.
Yeah.
Oh, so Mr. Reeder went to jail, eh?
Yeah.
For how long?
You know, I don't know. I over the years, I must have been contacted by, I don't know how many federal agents and lawyers, and because one of his developments was in the city of Indio, and but I was told by one of the lawyers that contacted me several years ago that he was convicted in federal court.
That's in the savings and loans thing.
Yeah.
That had to do with banking issues.
Right. And I think it was Florida where he was
Could be.
hanging his hat when he went to prison. But,
Well, he was a pretty smart guy, obviously.
yeah.
Did you ever meet him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you met the guy, eh?
Yeah.
What was he like? Pretty smart?
Yeah. Pretty smart guy.
Yeah.
Personable.
Nice, friendly guy?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I had a good friend that worked for him, even picked up and moved to Texas to manage a big ranch and complex down there, and he figured out what was going on and came home.
He didn't want any part of it, eh?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, here's interesting stuff.
Pete Sikorsky and Nichols were going to build a
Munitions factory.
munitions factory on the Cabzon Reservation right outside of Indio.
Yes, Peter told me that.
Yeah.
He said it was legitimate.
I figured he did. Yeah, that was. No question about it.
There was nothing illegal about it, eh?
No.
Okay, that's good, because it's good I confirm it with you,
Right.
other than just him. So it was
Nothing illegal about it.
So it was all upfront stuff. Peter told me that he wouldn't be involved with anything illegal.
I don't think he would.
He said my wife was the mayor of Indio,
She was.
and he said I'm an honest, up-straight guy.
Yep.
I'm a businessman, and he said when I found out about Jimmy Hughes, I tried to help him.
Yeah.
I guess Jimmy Hughes had information about the Alvarez murders.
There was a lot of rumors to that effect, and
Excuse me.
I talked to Jimmy a couple of times.
Oh, you did get to talk to him, eh?
Yeah, and
Peter said he was scared.
I think he was, yeah.
Just a young kid, eh?
Yeah, he was in his 20s.
He was ex-military, I guess?
Yeah.
Do we know what branch he served in?
You know, I don't have any idea. I can't remember.
Sure.
I'll put it that way.
Yep.
I'll soon be 69 years of age.
Right.
The computer gets glitches.
I hear you. My dad's 83 years old. He's a World War II bomber pilot
Oh, boy.
and a Korean War vet and a super nice guy. I have so much respect for my dad and guys like him. You know, he really served his country, and a lot of his friends died. And I have a lot of respect for my dad because he's a generation that just doesn't exist anymore. Kids today are out of control.
Yeah.
It's terrible what's happened with kids. Even my own kid's a pain in the ass.
You wonder what's going to happen in the next 25 or 30 years.
I'll be gone, thank God.
Yeah, me too.
You know, but you know, I'm the last, I think, of the good generation. You know, guys like my dad and yourself were real hard-working, tax-paying guys who obeyed the laws and, you know, just tried to do what was right. You know?
Well, it was a different era, and
It's crazy now, isn't it?
yeah, it's just
Drugs.
I do consulting for
Oh, do you still?
security companies. And right now, I'm putting together a training program for a branch of Securitas, which is the largest security company in the world. And
I thought Wackenhut was.
no, Securitas is
Big, eh?
oh yeah,
They're
they
international.
probably have between their European and Asiatic operations in the United States.
Hundreds of different branches, eh?
Yeah, there's probably $8 billion a year in business.
A lot of money.
Wackenhut's not close to that. Wackenhut has lost a lot of their credibility over the years.
Well, that's probably because of all the stories about them.
Yeah. They started out with an excellent idea,
idea was that? I don't know.
Great people, great minds,
Right.
with lots of experience in military and
Police.
intelligence and law enforcement and whatnot. Their associate board of directors read like a who's who
Oh, yeah.
in law enforcement.
Well, President Bush was on it at one time.
Yeah,
And William Casey.
right.
It's
But they,
FBI, CIA guys.
yes, they're in this area. They were relegated to watching some windmills.
Windmills?
Yeah, wind farms.
You're
They
kidding.
have these big wind.
Yeah.
turbine-
Yeah, for
Yeah.
environmentally friendly.
Right.
Huh. I didn't know.
And they don't have much else in this area. But
Right. Jimmy Hughes, basically, when you talked to him, what was the situation then?
well,
Because
he
Ted
was-
didn't seem to know a lot about this.
Yeah, Jimmy was, of course, young,
Mm-hmm.
and he had some grandiose ideas about being a mercenary and
Brother.
going to South America and hiring out and how much money you could make and so forth.
A
So,
dreamer, eh?
Yeah, but he was very concerned about his relationship with the
Mr. Nichols.
Cabazons, yeah, and
Why was that?
Mr. Nichols. He believed that they were all responsible for the Alvarez killings. Of course, everybody thought that, but
Right, so it wasn't unusual.
no. And he went to work for Wayne Reeder, and
Oh, we did.
yeah, he worked for Wayne for a while, and then
Doing what? At the golf course?
At the club, and
What, do you have a golf course?
yeah,
Nice, 18 holes?
18 holes. Yeah,
I play golf myself, so I'm interested.
my son is a golf pro.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Really?
he manages the Victoria Club in Riverside now.
Really?
Yeah,
Nice golf course?
oh, it's beautiful.
Really well manicured, eh?
Yeah, it's the oldest continuously operating golf club in the state of California.
Private, I guess.
Yeah, it's private.
So you can't go on there and play.
Well, if you ever get out this way,
Get 250 US dollars, I'm sure. Wouldn't
I'll
be
get
cheap.
going.
Wouldn't be cheap, would it? Yeah, my dad loves to golf.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so Mr. Hughes was this young fella had a little bit pipe dreams and got wrapped up with these people, eh?
Yeah, I think so, and I think he
In over his head.
and got out of it. And I'm not sure where he went.
Guatemala, I heard.
I heard that he went to South America, but I never.
So we never knew what ever happened to Jimmy Hughes, eh?
I've never heard a thing about him, and if I get together with the guys that I worked with in law enforcement once in a while, the name will come up, but
That's about it.
yeah.
So we don't know. He just drifted out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and the Alvarez case was never resolved, was it?
No.
Do you remember? The story? That was in the year 2000. That wasn't that long ago, actually.
Yeah, that there was somebody from Canada that had come in
That was.
and was doing a clandestine investigation.
That's true. That's absolutely. That did happen.
But I didn't make a lot of inquiry into it.
Well, there's one guy I'd like to talk to. I don't know if you could.
That was involved with the INSLAW's software.
Promise, yeah.
Has a long, long life, and we're probably going to be hearing about it for years to come.
Well, the thing of it is that the Canadian government did take the software, and I'll tell you.
Yeah. Tell me
What did Danny tell you?
about the federal government in the United States. Oh yeah, we tried it. It didn't suit our purposes. We never used it.
Right.
So same thing.
What did you think of Danny, Sam?
Well, I thought he was a pretty bright guy, and I have an idea about some of the things that he was going to ask me about.
What do you think he was going to ask you?
Well, I think he was going to ask me about the demonstrations and the reconnaissance Reconasuto
Yeah.
and all the connections.
Same stuff I'm talking about.
All the stories that Reconasuto came up with. Just an interesting sideline.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to Chicago, Reconasuto had told the federal agents that he was actually an operative for law enforcement in this area, and that the only way that Dr. Nichols was convicted of the murder for hire case was that he worked as an undercover operator and actually flew out to Palm Springs.
This is Nichols?
No,
Reconasuto?
And that a member from the sheriff's department and myself, chief of police, met him at the airport, and he went undercover and found all this information about Nichols and the hits that were going to be made and so forth, and turned all that over to me, and I was able to take that information and convict Dr. Nichols.
Is that true?
No.
Oh, it's not true.
Not a solitary word of it.
Oh, so he lied.
Yeah. And that was one of the things that I was back there for, is because he was trying to get out of prison.
Yes.
And the only information that he ever gave us was that, one, that Dr. Nichols was behind the Alvarez killings, and that he contracted for it. And but Reconasuto had a propensity for, I think, embellishing to the point to where it became ridiculous sometimes.
So basically his credibility was tainted in your eyes.
Yeah.
So he bloody outright lied.
Yeah, he lied about his relationship with that Nichols case where we sent Nichols to prison.
Interesting.
But I'm sure that he probably had a lot of information that was correct.
Right.
But my take on that, or my take on that situation, was that he was saying that to help his position in getting out of prison.
Right. Can't say that I actually blame him.
No. He wanted to get out. But, and then, of course, I can't say what was discussed in the grand jury, but...
The grand jury?
Yeah, grand jury, but...
What do you mean? I don't understand.
One of the things.
What? I don't understand. You can't see what?
Well, those are confidential.
I thought it was all public information.
The grand jury?
Yeah.
No.
Wasn't it?
Well, it may be now. I don't know.
Well, was there something that was said that was supposed to be secret or something?
No, not really. You have basically everything already. But what I was just commenting that one of the things that they asked me was that story.
Right, which turned out to be bogus.
Right. And I'm not so naive as to believe that every police officer, every agent is
honest.
Is deadly do-right, you know.
No, they're not.
And I've seen a lot of guys get on the stand and lie.
Oh, well, I've got a friend of mine, Sam. He was a minute.
62, 61, 62. There was a big scandal in Denver, Colorado. A lot of police officers were involved in a burglary ring.
Sure.
Remember that one?
I don't know that case because I'm a Canadian, but I believe you.
Well, I had occasion to go to Denver on an extradition, and I was with the prosecuting attorney's office at the time, and I got off the plane, and no one would talk to me. I had a snap brim hat on, a raincoat, and a suit, and the Denver airport police, they didn't want anything to do with me, and I didn't understand why, and finally I talked to a sergeant, and he got me a lift into town to the police department. Went in the police department. they looked like cops, so I stopped them and I said, "Are you fellows police officers?" And one of them says, "Yeah, I'm the chief of police. How can I help you?" And I said, "Thank God somebody's going to help me." And he said, "Well," he said, "I'm sorry, young man," he says, "but we've had a rather heavy scandal here, and anybody that walks through the door with a raincoat and a snap brim hat on, they think is the FBI. So they're not going to talk to you." So anyway, he took me upstairs and directed me to Sergeant McLish, and I believe it was his name, and got my business taken care of. But it happens anywhere you go.
Yeah.
Scandals, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it'll be happening after you and I are long dead, eh?
Yeah, sure will.
But, well, just so you know where I'm coming.
And I've never heard anyone else say anything about that briefcase, but the way that I was supposed to recognize him, and we were going to meet at a restaurant in Northern Virginia, and he said, "I'll have a small brown briefcase sitting by my chair."
Yep. Well, you know what? When the book comes out, because you've been so good to me, I'll send you a free copy, Sam.
I appreciate it.
And
a lot of things over the years. Governments are most of them get on a feeding frenzy, and they get to the point to where certain segments of that government feel that the means justifies the end, and they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that that's happened a lot. And we're supposed to be a law-abiding country, God-fearing, and founded on the principles of the Bible and so forth.
That's right.
But I learned a long time ago that governments, no matter where they are in the world, they're all the same.
Oh, God, they're...
I think that will continue. It can only get worse.
Yeah. Well, look,